respond to the questions there. So again, 2 to 3 minutes per comment. We're going to ask a series of 4 questions. I did leave a set of my business cards on the podium, so if you'd like, my personal cell phone is there, my email. If you didn't have an opportunity to provide further input and you'd like to later, you're more than welcome to contact me afterwards and we can have a deeper conversation. Okay, one last thing, just out of respect for this process, we are focused on the superintendent search. So I will ask everyone to be mindful that this is not an opportunity to indict the district for any feelings you might have other than the superintendent search. We have very limited and precious time this evening with you and recognize it is dinner time. So I want to make sure you get home and you get to enjoy supper and dinner and enjoy a pleasant evening. So let's get started. The first question that I'd like to ask and pose to everyone, both in person and virtually, what are your hopes and aspirations for the Alief Independent School District? Hopes and aspirations. So if you think of it in the context of the superintendent search, what do you hope for? What do you aspire for us to achieve in terms of the outcome of this search? So if anyone in the audience is a brave soul and like to approach the podium first, the mic should be live. I'll turn mine off to avoid any interruption or feedback. So hopes and aspirations. Brave soul. Yes, sir. Come to the podium if you may.
Okay. Starting about the Alief ISD, my hopes My hopes and aspirations in this process is that we find a superintendent that will help elevate us elevate our students, elevate us as employees, elevate even us as a community. Okay, I feel that overall, Alief has done a good job. I feel it was so much better. I feel not all stakeholders have been really invited into the process. So I'm hoping that after tonight and the next few nights, that there's more input so that we can take Alief from where it's at to where it should be.
Thank you. Okay, if you're just joining us, the first set of questions, there are 4 tonight that we'll walk through together. The first question is, what are your hopes and aspirations for the Alief Independent School District as we seek your new superintendent? Hopes and aspirations. So if anyone is here in person and like to approach the podium, you may do so. Are there any comments online yet? None? Okay. So while we're waiting for those to add some commentary, I'll share with you the intention of these meetings. So we're in the early stages of gathering input and feedback, listening to all the various voices, to use the gentleman's word, stakeholders, those who are a part of this wonderful community, to develop a meaningful leadership profile of your next superintendent. So what we do is we meet with as many individuals, including students, staff, all of the above, who are part of this wonderful community to develop a leadership profile. For us, the leadership profile is synonymous with the job description. So before we open the job application to begin receiving applications, we engage with communities to develop that profile. So that way we hear from everybody, and your words that you share with us tonight are reflected in that job profile. So it's very important for us to hear from you. So if you're open to sharing, yes, sir.
No, I was waving at the gentleman taking the picture.
Oh, okay. Very good. So we're still on question number 1. Yes, ma'am, Sue Dygard.
Yes, there's a comment from online that one of their aspirations is a strong person who is not afraid to make changes, build the district, and respect teachers.
Wonderful. So was everybody able to hear that? Okay, terrific. So hopes and aspirations. I'm sure there are many hopes and aspirations. Any others in the audience who wish to share and approach the microphone? So if you're also visiting us virtually and you're here in person, the school district website also has a unique superintendent search webpage that the staff was very generous in helping us create. So treat it as if it were a frequently asked question page. So anything that we do with regard to the superintendent search page, superintendent search, will be updated via that webpage. So you can find the timeline, the URLs for each of the surveys. We have 3 surveys available, entirely anonymous, so if you wish to share your feedback and your input and maintain that anonymity, you're welcome to do so by completing a survey. They're very short, and we will disaggregate that data and provide the information to the Board of Trustees during a publicly held meeting. So the surveys can be found at the district's website. There's 3, one in English, Spanish, and in Vietnamese. So we welcome you, any of your peers, your colleagues, family, friends, your children, if they happen to be students in the district, all of the above. So it's important, again, for us to hear from everybody. Yes, sir.
Greetings, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. I want to address your comments in regards to the website. During the August 24, 2021 school board meeting, the Director of Risk Management, Continue Gordon, stated that reporting COVID-19 cases, she stated that a majority of our families either don't have internet access or don't like using the internet. So my concern is that you all using that as a primary means of communicating with the community as 85% socially economically disadvantaged, and the district doesn't have hotspots for our students right now. My concern is that you're not getting to the people who these decisions affect the most. So I would recommend that maybe you all send letters home with the kids. When the bond election came around, they were jumping out of the bushes, jumping out of the trees. You didn't have to go looking for the district in order to get feedback because they wanted that bond to pass. I wanted the same rigor to be given to our community and our disproportionate economic status to get our input for this superintendent search. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And to the gentleman's point, we are exploring other avenues and other opportunities to communicate these messages that we're sharing with you tonight. So part of our efforts include other in-person meetings the remainder of this week and next week. So our intention is to meet again with as many individuals as we can. So understanding that the school year is quickly upon us, we're going to do everything in our power to reach those who do not have the means to communicate with us via the internet or other forms of online communication that we're asking you so. So we are being mindful of that. We're sensitive to those needs, and we're going to do everything we can to reach as many people as we can. So I appreciate the gentleman's remarks. We're going to do what we can to empower everybody to share their input and their feedback. Other questions? So we're still on hopes and aspirations. And forgive me if I look down at my watch, I'm only looking to check for time. So I want to be mindful and sensitive to that. So hopes and aspirations you may have for the district. Any other comments online? Okay, none at the time. And again, I want to thank the trustees for enabling us this space to work with all of you. This is critically important. As many of you probably have heard publicly, the #1 job, that have many jobs that the trustees have, is, if needed, is to hire a superintendent. So this is very important in that we find the best possible fit for the Alief Independent School District. So your voices mean a ton to us as we develop a very meaningful job profile, leadership profile. And what you'll hear me say if I'm speaking publicly, to use a term, we like to think of the leadership profile as the North Star. That is our guide, that is our beacon, that is what the consultants with the trustees will eventually use. Because again, it's going to be all-encompassing of your words as we put them on paper, so that the candidates who apply for this job, they are visually seeing what it is that you're looking for in your next superintendent. So I'll ask one last time, so no other comments on hopes and aspirations in the chat? Okay, yes, sir.
Greetings once again, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. My hopes and aspirations for the superintendent is to have someone who is a humanitarian, not a politician. Those are two distinct honors. I think someone who is more concerned about the compassion of the community than doing what's going on in Austin, the other A city. So I'm looking for someone who is actually a humanitarian and not a politician for our community. Okay?
Thank you, sir. You got a question? Comments?
Another comment from the community online is a request that the profile of applicants be blind to the reviewers, meaning the position will only be filled based on qualities and experience, and that it will have nothing to do with gender, national origin, religion, or race.
Okay, so we're 15 past the hour. We can always digress and come back to hopes and aspirations. So should anybody wish to add more color or commentary around the hopes and aspirations that you have for the school district, that's perfectly fine. So we'll move on to the next question. So again, there's 4 questions. The next question centers around points of pride, things that you're most proud of when thinking about Alief Independent School District, which there's a lot to celebrate. So I think oftentimes we don't celebrate enough in public education. So points of pride, things that you're most proud of. And another way to think of this, as we're speaking with potential candidates, both locally, regionally, from afar, this is our bragging and our boasting moment. We want to be able to brag and boast from using your words about all the things you're most proud of. Points of pride, things you'd like to celebrate. Because again, we want to highlight and underscore some of those major accomplishments. So points of pride.
Greetings. Once again, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. Points of pride would be, and I know this might be a far stretch, is someone that actually came from Alief. Alief alumnus would be great. But another point of pride, more importantly, would be someone with high aspirations, high education. Not a superintendent with a master's degree, and then the bus drivers has a doctoral degree, or the teachers have a doctoral degree. So if he's going to be he or she is going to be leading our community, I want them to be high in education as well, not the individuals that come up under them. Thank you.
All right, points of pride. Yes, sir.
Well, once again, Ron Cotts, Alief, Texas State Teachers Association. I think a great point of pride is that we do have many students that by the time they leave us, and after they leave us, I guess is what I'm trying to say, they do become very successful, and it is because of the efforts of everybody within the district, from the people that clean our buildings, to that bus driver that picks them up in the morning, and the bus driver that drops them off in the evening, those teachers that they're with all day, those parents that they're with all day, that we do make a difference in many students' lives, and we do have some very successful students, and that is, I think, is an extreme point of pride, considering over many of these students, times, the conditions that they and where they wake up in the morning, where they go home to in the evening, what they go home to in the evening with, is the fact that we are able to provide them a safe place where they can make themselves a better individual and a better citizen. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So if you're just joining us, we're on the topic, the second question, points of celebration, points of pride. So things that you're most proud of. So as we begin recruiting talent, we'd like to highlight and underscore those areas that you're most proud of. Moments of pride, moments of celebration. Anything online?
Yes, a member of the community chimed in that a source of pride here in Alief is good teachers.
Wonderful. Must celebrate the teachers, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Tracy Bonet. I'm a teacher, this is a parent, my kids went to Alief. I'm part of the TSTA union, and I would just like to say, I don't know if you're aware, and I just were thinking about this when you had sent the survey. You know, we have 3 NFL football players that came out of Alief, all Alief teams. Yes, Martellus and Michael Bennett. Martellus is retired, writes children's books, went on to do that, not just football. And Obo, who just won Super Bowl, and Beyonce would say, I mean, there's a list of on and on and on of people that have come out of Alief that have made a name. But even more than that, my daughter, who went to Alief, Miller, Albright, Taylor, and graduated, and is her first year teaching in Alief as a 4th grade teacher. When she came here for the Alief U, they did an alumni picture, and she said it was like near 70 students that came back here to teach in Alief, and I think that's huge. And I just love that Alief gets excited about their students that they, brought up through Alief and now are coming back to give what they learned to the next generation. And I think that's even as good as the Super Bowl football players and all that. So.
Absolutely, and congratulations to your daughter. So, a legacy, a family legacy continuing here. So points of pride. So all things to celebrate. One thing I noticed walking into this beautiful facility, this is state-of-the-art, first class. We're enabled and empowered to have a terrific meeting here. This is something certainly to be proud of. Other areas to be proud of, she talked a lot about the legacy and continuation of those students who essentially grew up through the system and have returned as educators. Other points of pride.
So we have a couple of points of pride from our Zoom community, as well as some hopes and aspirations. The points of pride are unique diversity of the district, as well as the Career Center, which is a wonderful asset to the community. Hopes and aspirations, someone chimed in that an aspiration is a superintendent who knows instruction, cares about students, staff, and lives the term equity. Someone who knows and supports all campus staff, paras, teachers, and admin, and doesn't just look at public opinion as political moves. One who knows the community, knows the staff, and hears the whole community, not just the top-tier admin in the building. Someone who walks campuses, talks to the staff and administrators, and knows and hears from campus staff.
Terrific, thank you, Sue. And so this is being recorded as well, and of course our colleague Andres is taking notes. So we have 2 avenues of note-taking that will transcribe and help us articulate and convey all the points that you're sharing with us as we begin developing the profile. All right, we're still talking points of pride, so if there's anyone else in the audience who'd like to share moments of celebrations, happy to listen. Anything else online? Yep, okay.
More. Point of pride is that Alief hires alumni back to the district, and they have staff who are proud to return and give back to the community. And another point of pride is the district's ability to quickly adapt to technology at a very stressful moment.
Very good, thank you. All right, if we may, we'll forge ahead to the third question of the forum. Again, we can always digress and come back. But as one of our colleagues would say, there's always 2 sides to every pancake. So the flip side of the pancake is, what are the challenges that we must overcome in order to reach those desired hopes and aspirations? So envision the incoming superintendent, their first 90 days, if you will, on the job. What are some of those barriers, those challenges that he or she must overcome in an effort to reach those desired hopes and aspirations that you shared with us? So challenges. Yes, sir.
Greetings, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. The biggest challenge that he or she who comes in is going to have to face is earning back the trust of the community and the employees based on the superintendent that just left. So take that for what you may. Each individual and each group has their own experience with the superintendent and the district, but overcoming those past experiences is going to be the biggest challenge, specifically mistrust. Thank you.
Okay, so the topic, third of 4 questions tonight, challenges that we must overcome in order to achieve success.
Again, Ron Cox, Alief TSTA. I think the biggest challenge is that the new superintendent, I'd like to personally give them this challenge. I'd like for them to come in that first 90 to 180 days and look at all of our systems, look at everything. get outside opinion. Is it working? Is this really working? Is this as effective as it could be? Are there hitches? Because we know there's not an organization alive where everything is perfect. And so my challenge would be to the new superintendent is to look at those things and ask, is there a better way? Are we appropriate staffing levels for across the district? Have we done the best job of taking care of our staff? What is our staff thinking right now? Because they're going to be thinking certain things when a new superintendent comes in. There's going to be all kinds of rumors and all that, and I'd like for that superintendent to begin as quickly as possible looking at that thing and reassuring everybody that that what is working will be kept and what needs to be improved will be tweaked or thrown out in the trash, whatever that might be.
Any challenges online submitted by our colleagues?
Yes, one is Alief Special Ed program needs an overhaul, and the concerns about the impact of No Child Left Behind on that. Also, a comment that we need to get a handle on discipline at the high school level, and we need to raise the morale of a defeated staff. And this last one, and if the person is listening and they want to clarify if I'm not interpreting this correctly, it says we're too heavy. How can this be addressed? I'm thinking that might be concern about being top heavy. And then a concern about staff reductions. Another challenge is oversight of curriculum content and concern about appropriateness of materials.
Thank you, Sue. Yes, and so for the viewer who provided that comment, thank you. But if you could clarify on the statement about being heavy, that would be helpful for us.
They did. They did mean top heavy.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so the topic of this particular question is challenges. So those challenges we must overcome, and by we, collectively as a whole, but the incoming superintendent to achieve the desired hopes and aspirations. Good? No. Okay.
Another challenge is understanding and figuring out how to equal the playing field for students. How can we make sure every student / staff gets close to similar learning / growth and work experience, regardless of if they are on a campus on the east side or the west side?
Okay, terrific. So I'll pause because it sounds like there's activity online. Anyone here in the audience like to share? You can stop me and interrupt me. Okay. All right, well, let's digress if need be, okay? So we'll move on to question 4, and then perhaps we can answer any questions you might have given the allotted time. So question number 4 really helps us get to the meat of developing a meaningful leadership profile. So the 4th and final question for you pertains to the characteristics, the traits, and the qualities that you'd like to see the next superintendent possess in order to accomplish the hopes, aspirations, to achieve a tradition of excellence, to continue a legacy of growth, etc. So those characteristics, traits, and qualities that are most important to you. So this is the line items, if you will, the bullets of the job profile, leadership profile, that North Star that I referenced. So qualities, characteristics, traits.
One is clear communication to all campuses.
So the first trait is clear communication, so an effective communicator, if you will. Other characteristics, traits, qualities, attributes.
We should have worked out on the before. Okay. I think one of the traits that the new superintendent has, and I think we're kind of hearing some of the comments, is their persona, okay? Do you want want someone that's always out there and it seems like it's more self-promotion, or do you want somebody that sits in the background letting people do their jobs and quietly going about managing people? It's my hopes that we get somebody that's in between, somebody that doesn't care that they get the sound bites on TV, somebody that doesn't care if they're in a magazine, someone doesn't care if they're all over your webpage, but their biggest thing is that they care that the job is being done, and they care that everybody within the district is happy. Okay? And so I'd like a little less persona and a little less politician. Somebody that you really, really feel comfortable and you can really feel that you can trust them.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, sir.
Can you state the question again for me, please?
Yes, sir. So the fourth and final question is, what are the characteristics, traits, and qualities that are most important to you in an effort for the superintendent to reach those hopes and aspirations that you shared earlier?
Absolutely, great. Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. I think the biggest quality for me is not handpicking and selecting the individuals that have your same thought, ideology, or want to carry your same message. The district does a great job of not including individuals that don't align with their opinions or where they're trying to go. They don't include those individuals in those decision-making processes. So if you could include those individuals who are your start components and get them on board, give them access to the information to change their mind, I think our district would run a lot better, because the group that already agrees, if you can convert the individuals that don't agree or give them the information which you're asking for, trying to convert the ideology of what they're thinking, I think our district will be much greater and better place, and United Force would be have a great determination for our students and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything online, Sue?
Yes, we have several. Strong speaker, not adaptable to trends, someone with integrity, a listener, and someone who thinks before making a decision. Another community member said someone who is trustworthy and not looking to build a resume, and is a builder, meaning they build the teachers and staff up, especially during these times.
All right, wonderful. So this is all very important feedback and critical to our success as we begin developing a meaningful leadership profile. So thank you for being candid. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, your feelings, and your heart, if I may, tonight. So we're still on the topic of challenges. So if there are any others that wish to share here in person, please, I invite you to the podium. Those online, please submit your comments via chat. Also, if you're just joining us, there are other opportunities to participate, providing input and feedback, anonymous opportunities as well, including the online surveys available, which can be found on the district's website. So there's a pretty clear superintendent search web page created by our friends at the district staff who have helped us coordinate and develop that. So thank you, staff, for assisting us with that. So there are other opportunities to provide input. I also stated earlier that we have a number of community-related meetings taking place the rest of this week and next week. So and I'll provide you with kind of a generic timeline of what we're hoping to accomplish here in short order. So we're still on the topic of challenges. Are there any others online?
Sorry, so I think some of these comments fit in some of the other buckets. So attributes for a superintendent, someone suggested a superintendent who focuses on decisions for longevity, not what's popular in the moment or who wines and dines the best. Someone who focuses us back on core instruction at all levels and not just high school. And then this would probably fall under aspirations for the district. Alief used to be a top tier. People moved into Alief for the school system, and this community member would love the district to get back to this.
Thank you.
Challenges.
Challenges, greeting, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. As I said earlier before, 85% of our district is socially economically disadvantaged. So a lot of our residents work 2 or 3 jobs. They also take public transportation. Just from the administration building to here is 4 miles. It takes at least 2 or 3 buses to get from the administration building to here. So my concern is that working 2 or 3 jobs and/or in our district is 14 square miles apart. So imagine how long it would take for a resident from the other side of the district to get to a meeting right here and only have 6 to 7 p.m. to communicate and/or have to work 2 or 3 jobs. So maybe possibly doing some meetings on Saturday. I mean, you do Zoom, so you can do a Zoom meeting on Saturday at 6 to 7 p.m. to get other stakeholders involved. If I had to make a decision tonight, being a single parent and traveling across the district for 3 hours, or cooking my family dinner, or taking off from work and coming here tonight, I wouldn't come here. I'm just be honest with you. Nor would I have the ability to get online. As I stated, the district stated that our community doesn't have access to being online, nor do they utilize the resources well. So just being intentional about those limitations, but yet those decisions that we're making tonight are still going to impact those individuals that work 2 or 3 jobs, are a single parent, and/or don't like or can't use technology. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we appreciate your candor. And as I stated earlier, for joining us late during this conversation, we're going to do everything we can to accommodate those who need and wish to provide their input and feedback through other channels, whether it's in person, to his suggestion over the weekend. I'll talk with our staff, my team, to determine the best approach to accomplish those wishes. So I can't speak on behalf of the greater system, but we will look into it. So I can promise you that. Okay, so we're still on challenges, or is there anything else, Ms. Steiger?
Yes, another challenge that has been lifted up is recovery from the COVID slump, especially the large gap with the 3 through 8-year-olds and the large number, which might be grades 3 through 8, and the large number of students who are needing to be identified as special ed, and also the needed staff to care for these students and their behavioral and emotional needs. And concern also is the amount of time that it takes for students to get the right services and placements.
Yes, sir.
I think another challenge that you all face is where those candidates, those possible candidates are. One of my concerns is, and I'm not sure if it was your firm or one of the other firms, but during the interview process at the school board, and I had heard at least 1 or 2 of the firms that were being considered talk about the candidate pool in the state of Texas, because so many jobs had opened up, so many superintendent jobs had opened up this year, and then possibly you have to go out of state. And one of my concerns is those candidates understanding the politics in the state of Texas when it comes to education, and how it differs from where they're at, as well as how the community of Alief differs. And I guess it would be a challenge on your behalf to really inform those candidates of what the community is. I know they'll probably do their own research, but I think that's a challenge to any candidate coming in, is truly understanding the uniqueness of the Alief community. I've been in 3 different school districts now, and it is definitely the most unique school district. Okay, so I worry about where those candidates might come from, and them being possibly being ineffective because of just not being familiar with local politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from our peers online? Or comments, excuse me?
Yes, one additional challenge that has been lifted up is the quality of the supplier of children's nutrition. And then a suggestion that has come up that this is more about process and a request for some of these meetings to happen at campuses.
Okay, thank you. So with this imminent start of the new school year, we're going to do everything we can to reach as many people. So noted that there's more requests for other venues, other opportunities to meet. So we'll discuss with staff and get the appropriate direction from the Board of Trustees. So as you'll hear me say publicly, we work at the will of the board. So we are working on behalf of the Board of Trustees. We were chosen by them to represent them, to represent you, and we in fact do not represent the candidates. So I think a common misnomer in many cases is that search firms are the ones indeed responsible for hiring the candidate, which couldn't be further from the truth. The Board of Trustees, as I stated earlier, they have many responsibilities, wear many hats, but one of them ultimately, if need be, is to hire the superintendent. So we will bring forward the candidates, make recommendations based on what we've heard from all of you, how those candidates align in terms of their qualities, their experiences, their skill set to the job profile, and then the Board of Trustees will make a final decision who they wish to hire to represent this wonderful community. So at a high level, that is our intention, that is our purpose, and that is the spirit in which we serve in, as it pertains to our service to the school board and to Alief. Any other challenges online? No? Yes, sir.
Greetings, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. Another big challenge that the candidate may face or concern of mine is that our current superintendent or ex-post superintendent wanted to be a school board member and or the president of the school board and the superintendent at the same time. For example, he's allowed to take role when we have a vice president and president, secretary and assistant president, and also an assistant secretary to the board. Yet the president of the board defers to the superintendent to take role at the school board meetings. If you go to the website has superintendent tab and there's school board tab. The superintendent has his own tab and information in there. Then you go to the school board, and once again, the superintendent is there as well. So finding a superintendent that is not interested in leading the board or implying that he leads the board, he or she leads the board, I think is going to be a setback too. And or if they only have intentions on being a school board member and coming to a district where the superintendent has ran the board and the district at the same time, that's going to be a situation for an individual that just wants to be a school board, a superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so I think we're reaching the tail end. I don't see any comments coming from my colleague monitoring the chat room. We've asked the 4 questions this evening. Again, I want to invite you, if you have an opportunity to do so and participate in other events, we have 3 remaining town hall meetings. So another one tomorrow evening, another next week. The timeline of major milestones, which are the impending events to be held, are on the district's website, along with the surveys. We will do what we can to accommodate some of these other requests. Again, at the will of the board, if we get those directives, we'll do as much as we can to meet in more spaces through not this week, but the following week. So our goal and our charge is to conclude all of the major stakeholder meetings, both in person, virtually, whether it be Zoom, telephonically, on the phone, by Friday the 19th. So we have this week, we have next week. We will be presenting the draft leadership profile, again, that North Star, publicly to the Board of Trustees the following week. I believe that would be the 24th, or the 23rd, excuse me, the 23rd. So meetings occur on Tuesdays. So we'll be presenting to the Board of Trustees the draft leadership profile publicly. The board will have an opportunity to provide input, ask us questions. If we missed anything as a firm, we will revise that in the same evening on the 23rd. With their blessing, we will open the application with the final iteration of the job profile the very next day, the 24th. Okay, so that also includes in that presentation that night on the 23rd, a summary report of all of the things that we've heard from tonight's meeting, last week's meetings that we've held, the remainder of this week's meetings, and so forth. So that summary report is essentially a synopsis of everything we've heard. We're presenting all of this information publicly. So no information will be withheld as it pertains to the profile, the summary report, the data from the surveys. All of this is done in the spirit of transparency. That same set of reports will eventually be uploaded to the webpage that I keep referencing tonight. So you can see that visual representation. It's a PDF, In both documents, there'll be a summary report and a leadership profile. And again, my business cards are placed here on the podium. If you wish to take one and you'd like to schedule time to speak with us privately, we want to make those accommodations available to you. My personal cell is there, my email. The rest is our coordinator, Trustee Dargard, our colleague from Houston ISD, who's serving as a chief search officer. She's working on this search, and we have a number of other folks. So, as I like to say, it's all hands on deck to give you a sense or a peace of mind in this particular search. This is the only superintendent search that we're conducting right now in a large public school system in the state of Texas. Someone commented earlier that there's a number of vacancies across the state. That's not just common here in Texas, that's nationwide. We're a national firm, but we're very intentional in the job placements and the work that we're doing. So right now, our undivided attention is on Alief ISD. So just know you have a dedicated faculty of our team. Myself, I represent the company as the founder and the CEO. So we have full support of this community. We want to ensure that you have the best outcome possible. And I'll tell you, we've done this work nationwide for the past 8 years. And I like to use sports analogies, so bear with me. It's baseball season, the Astros are playing well, so to use a baseball term, we're batting 1,000. So feel assured that we have never failed a search. I don't intend to now. I have friends from college who graduated from Hastings, so talking about the
Go Bears!
alumni. So they're Hastings grads, they played football at the collegiate level. You can tell that I'm a runt, so I didn't play football. But they did. So my crew from college, they're Alief grads themselves. So it's also personal for me. So they have families still here, and I want to make sure we do right by them. So again, if there's no other comments, yes, sir.
Last one, based off what you just said.
Greetings, Damon, Barone, Alief ISD, parent, taxpayer, and alumnus. Sue Dygard, thank you for your work in HISD. You are a stand-up trustee, so I really appreciate that. I wish I had you here. In regards to the transparency, is the questions and concerns going to be a living, breathing document, and you're going to start posting those immediately, and/or can you share them on social media platforms for those who are? I want all of these concerns to be out in our community, and not just the fact that you're doing a result. Just the fact that we're allowed to have our voices heard tonight, I already feel better. I've been in the district since I was 8 years old, and this is the most transparent conversation that we've been allowed to have here. So I think that those concerns should be shared on social media and/or show the public that we are trying to turn the corner and let our transparency and our community's voices be heard. Thank you. So if those are going to be posted, please make that intention to know that, hey, these are the questions and concerns, and let that be a living and breathing document. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, in the spirit of transparency, we will work with staff. I don't have an answer of how the transcript or the video recording from tonight's town hall will be posted. So that's something that I'll need to defer to the board, council, and staff. But we will look into this. The summary report that will include the comments, the feedback. Again, it's a synthesized version of everything we hear, but it's a fairly lengthy document. It's roughly 12 pages on average. So you'll see the commentary there without calling attention to any one individual, but rather a theme, a thread of themes that we've heard from tonight's discussion. So I think you'll see that there's synergy from parents, taxpayers, students, staff, and where we find alignment across all those threads, that's how we can develop that meaningful profile, that North Star that I referenced. So again, want to say thank you for your candor. If there's any last comments or feedback that we want to share, Sue, please.
Yes, there was one last aspiration and a question, and the aspiration is a superintendent who will continue to ensure that Alief is fiscally responsible and holds our rainy day funds in the green while supporting decisions that help build staff morale and support staff retention. And the question is, you said about contact information. Is that available on the website?
If it's not available on the website, I don't believe so, but our website for the company, where all of our contact information can be found, it's www.jgconsulting.us. So the important notation is .us. So jgconsulting.us, our contact information can be found there. And so feel free to reach us that way. There's a 1-800 number if you prefer to dial the 1-800 number. We have a local Austin number where we reside or where I reside. So feel free to contact us through any modality that you wish. And then my email address is james@jgconsulting.us.
There's one final question from a community member, and that is about concerns about JG Consulting being an independent firm from the district, so that community members can trust that what they say and what they ask is not going to affect their position in the district.
Yes, so we are a privately held consulting firm, so we do many things as a consultancy, but again, we are contracted by the Board of Trustees. So we're a third party of the district. We responded to a proper procured request for proposals like the other search firms. So there was a gentleman who referenced the interviews. So we're one of many search firms that responded to an open bid, and that's the standard practice. So we are a third party. We're not full-time employees of the school district, but we do represent the school district and the Board of Trustees. So again, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank staff for accommodating everyone this evening and ensuring that this was wildly successful, which I feel it was for the first one. We look forward to seeing you in the next town halls. And again, I want to thank the trustees for the opportunity to visit with all of you in this space. We'll do what we can to meet those other requests and accommodation needs. But again, I'm James. Thank you for your time. Hope you get home safely. And please stay cool. It's so hot outside. Get home safe. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.